Good morning everyone, my name's Kirsty Ward and you're joining me today on my little allotment. It is Sunday the 11th of June and it is a very sunny Sunday. The sky is absolutely clear and it is so warm. I think it's not even 10 o'clock yet and I think it's about 22 degrees, so it's a very beautiful day. But you're joining me on my allotment plot, which is in Lincolnshire in the UK, and my allotment plot is about 290 square metres, so it's quite a big allotment plot to work. I don't know why I called it my little allotment to start with. I think it's because when I got my allotment plot, they told me I had half a plot. So in my head, I thought that was going to be little. Turns out it's not. But I am going to spend today just showing you around, giving you a little plot tour and update. For those of you that have already been following along, I have obviously been doing regular monthly updates through the winter and I've been really busy working on my plot. And then for the past couple of months, you've probably not seen me a lot. So I'm very sorry about that. I've just had a few things going on in my personal life. The biggest one being that I've actually gone from working full-time to now working full-time self-employed, and making that transition over the past sort of 6 weeks has been quite difficult. So I've been concentrating on all of my self-employed work and all of the things that I needed to do and making that transition into doing that. So I haven't done a plot update for about 2 months, so I'm really sorry about that. So if you're new here, maybe go and watch my last plot tour or go and have a little look at one of the plot tours from sort of like December, January time, just so you can see how much the plot has sort of changed in those months. And yeah, I'm really excited to give you a plot tour update today. I think there are some really good bits. There are some really bad bits. There are some failures, there are some triumphs, but yeah, definitely going to be keeping it real. I'd say that some things are doing okay. The majority of things aren't doing that well. We've had a really weird beginning to the year. I don't know about everyone else, but it seemed to be cold for a lot of spring, and then we'd just have these couple of days of heat and you think, okay, spring and summer are coming, and then it just goes back to being absolutely freezing. So a lot of my seedlings suffered a little bit, and also it's absolutely bone dry down on my allotment. I can't remember the last time we had water. My water butt is basically empty. Luckily we do have some access to water here, but even so, you know, those big bouts of rain that soak the ground are like what you need to just sort of keep your allotment ticking over. And even though I've been trying to get down here to water, like I said, the past 6 weeks have been difficult just trying to transition from working to being self-employed. And I have been getting down here, but I've been coming in like sort of short bursts of doing like an hour weeding or an hour planting, an hour you know, like watering and things like that, and I haven't really been down here for a full day or anything like that for a while to actually get on with lots of big jobs. But anyway, I don't know about everyone else, but my allotment seems to be struggling slightly in terms of even though I've mulched it really heavily, which has definitely helped, I just think we need a big downpour of rain, and my seedlings are just a bit slow. I've been really slow planting things out as well, which hasn't helped. I'd say that I am probably about 4 weeks behind where I'd normally be in terms of like planting things out and doing things. I've had seedlings sort of struggle a little bit just because I've left them so long planting out, but this is what it's about, having an allotment. It isn't plain sailing, it isn't easy. I'm going to be really honest about, you know, what I've done that I shouldn't have done or what I should have done. There are lots of things that I was like, okay, right, I really need to plant those out tomorrow. Like 3 weeks later, I've planted them out, so it's only my own fault anyway with some of it. I also haven't had the best time starting off a few seeds, and I have ordered a few plug plants. I know some of you think that's cheating. It's not. I normally grow absolutely everything from seed, but I've ordered a few just because I didn't have great germination on some of my pumpkins and squash, which are obviously, probably from what a lot of you know, are my favourite things to grow. But anyway, right, I'm going to stop rambling now because I'm going to show you around anyway, and I'll talk to you about all the different areas and what's going on. And I hope you enjoy the tour. And if you enjoy watching my videos, please let me know, like leave a comment below if you want to ask me any questions, or if you want to know anything more about things that I'm doing on my allotment, or anything about me and gardening. And also, if you want to like or share or subscribe, that would be amazing. I really appreciate you following my journey here on my little allotment. So let's go. I'm going to start right at the top of my allotment. Just for any of you that are new here, I'm going to sort of work my way down. So this is the top of my plot, and this is my compost bay. I have obviously two sides filled with wood chip that I still need to put down on the paths, and then in the middle is my compost bay. At the moment you can see there was a big load of grass that was put on there, but the compost is going okay. I really need to give that a turn, so I think probably this week when I'm down here I'm going to give it a turn over, and then I've got loads of bits from home to add to it, some old soil to add, and I might put a layer of like cardboard and wood chip in there as well. But yeah, making my compost is going really well this year, but I definitely need to shift the wood chip and get that put down on the paths, just to freshen the paths up a little bit. And also the wood chip that's already on the paths has mulched down quite considerably, but I could do with weeding the paths first, because I have a huge problem with perennial weeds like bindweed and stuff, so I'll show you all those in a little bit. This is my little raised bed area. This is what I mean about the wood chip paths. They are basically down to the bottom, so I'm going to be adding a really thick layer of wood chip across here, but it is full of little grasses and weeds that just need pulling up, and they're really easy to pull up, so I'm going to sort of go through that maybe today actually after I finish filming. These beds I filled with, there's 3 of them, I just filled them with wildflower seeds, and poppies, nasturtiums, calendula, borage, cornflowers. I've just sprinkled loads of stuff in them. I don't really do anything with this space necessarily because it's filled with ground elder. Underneath the wood chip, it's just absolutely full of bindweed, ground elder and other perennial weeds that make it quite difficult, and they grow up through the bed. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try and grow some wildflowers or pollinator friendly flowers in these beds just to brighten it up a little bit. And then at the back there there's like a big black veggie pod. That's where I've got all of my strawberries. They're all doing really well, but I've noticed that the birds are pecking at the white strawberries. So I need to get some netting on that today just to stop them from doing that, and hopefully I might actually get to taste a strawberry this year. Now we're moving on to like the next little section. This is where my shed is. So the shed has been cleared out and it's looking really nice inside. There's a few more things that I need to I want to put up on like the shed wall so I can like hang up my tools and stuff. So I need to get on with that. But I don't know if you can see, like there's been some paint testing on the front of the shed. I've actually received my paint now, so I'm hopefully going to paint the shed next week. I know it's obviously meant to be really sunny, so it might be a good time just to get that done. So that should make a big difference. But this area here is normally my flower area. Now, sorry, I went out of shot then. You can see my blackcurrant here, and then I have a nice lavender path running up. There are loads of beautiful alliums in this, and normally I have all of my dahlias. Now my dahlias are basically my favourite thing to grow. But I had a bit of a problem at the end of last year where I lost a lot of my tubers to the cold because I didn't have time to mulch them in. It's all my own fault, it's just time. You know, like when you've got a full-time job and another job and kids and stuff, it's really hard to keep on top of it. So, you know, that's where I was at with it. But I have got a few of them that survived. They're growing really well. I got loads of new dahlia tubers, which is incredible. And I just normally, oh, there's a spider on me. Normally I'm really good with like getting things potted up and sorted, but I've really struggled this year. Again, I think it's just time, and you know, a lot of us have jobs and stuff as well, so having an allotment and a garden and everything else is quite difficult. So I didn't quite get my tubers planted up in time. I normally pot them on first and then bring them down here and plant them up, but I didn't. I just put the tubers down and planted them up probably only a week ago, which is very, very late for me. And a lot of them still aren't sprouting yet, which I'm a bit gutted about, because if they do grow, they're going to be very, very late. And if we obviously get an early frost this year, I'm going to be a little bit out of time. But it doesn't matter, because next year I'll have a good year, and that's what you have to think. Some years things don't go so well, and then the next year you might have a brilliant year. But it's my own fault. So if I don't have many dahlias here at the allotment to show you, I do, however, have lots of dahlias that I've planted up at home. So I have been in the process of sort of renovating the garden a little bit, trying to do it for as sort of cheaply as possible and doing everything myself. So I've made like a new border at home and planted loads of dahlias there early, and they're all sprouting and doing really well. So if I don't have any dahlia content from here, I'll show you at home. Anyway, there are some dahlias growing. There's loads and loads of rogue poppies. There's also loads of weeds. Now, this area, I don't know if you can see, like I've actually trimmed it and it's like sort of dead grass. There's lots and lots of perennial weeds and grasses and stuff blowing over from some of the really, really unkept. I think there's some allotments that don't have anybody on them. But anyway, this area is just thick matted grass in the soil, and I was going to spend some time obviously digging it out, but it's so dry, and I can't remember the last time that we had any kind of rain, that I just can't get into the ground. So realistically, this area was the last area for me to do, like from the winter before spring and summer, and I never got round to it. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe work the other way. When we get to autumn, I'm going to do this area first. I'm just going to completely dig out any kind of perennial weeds, and then I'm going to turn it into no dig. It's the last area, other than another little strip, to make my whole allotment no dig anyway. But I am going to spend some time really working the ground and trying to get as much of the perennial weeds and grasses out, and then I will give the allotment a really, really heavy mulch and turn it into no dig, and probably put a layer of cardboard. So I'll show you that progress later on in the year. Now I've moved the camera a bit further down to sort of show you a view looking up from the bottom of my allotment, or a bit further down. Obviously you can see the shed, and this is the flower bed that isn't really full of flowers, but it is full of lavender and my alliums. But there will be some dahlias growing here in front of the shed. And then obviously at the top of this bed here, I've got my big sage plants that are in flower, and then I've got two little raised beds in front that are full of alliums. I've got some lilies in there, and my intentions are that when we get to autumn this year, I'm going to put lots and lots and lots of allium bulbs again all over the plot. They're perennial, they're really great for the bees, and they just look so nice. So in any more gaps in these beds and in the flower bed, I'm going to add lots and lots of alliums, because I absolutely love them. They make me so happy. I'm probably going to need hundreds and hundreds of bulbs, because I would really like to sort of put them in the main growing beds of the allotment as well, just to add, you know, some extra pollinating plants for the bees. Anyway, this is one of the smaller beds on the allotment, and it's currently not a no-dig bed. I need to change it to be a no-dig bed, but I ran out of compost. So currently in here, there's not a lot going on. The weeds are growing great. However, my cosmos is not. I planted it out and pinched it out because it was looking really great, and then it's gone in the ground. I've watered it and I've fed it. It's just not very happy. They're just really like short, stumpy little cosmos plants. Normally, or previously, like my cosmos plants grow tall quite quickly, and I pinched them out at exactly the same time as I pinched them out the year before. So I do think it might just have something to do with possibly how dry it's been, and the fact that we went from it being like a really hot sunny day to it being freezing again, and then freezing for quite a long time, then we'd have a hot day. I just really think it's sending everything a bit wappy. I've also planted lots of calendula plants. I'm getting covered in bugs today. Just wait. Something's stuck in my hair. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's just a little ladybird. I've got loads of calendula plants. They're fine. To be honest, like they just self-seed, and I can actually see them self-seeding in a lot of the other beds, which is fine. I put some cornflowers in here. They look half dead. They are actually growing, but they're just growing so slowly. There's a sunflower in the middle, and then I had loads of zinnias, some beautiful zinnia plants to plant. And obviously, I don't know if you remember, like probably just like a week ago, we had that really cold snap, and I just brought the zinnias and planted them out just before it went cold again. And if you ever grow zinnias, they are very, very unhappy about being transplanted anyway, and that cold snap just killed them. So that's those done. So if you're worried about your allotment and things dying, it happens to all of us. But yeah, it's sort of growing something. I don't know. Now I'm going to bring you to the back of that small flower bed. Obviously, as you can see, the sage is in bloom and it's beautiful. And the good thing about these beautiful sage flowers are that the bees absolutely love them, and they're also edible. So you can put them in your salads, you can add them to things like ice cubes and stuff, and they're amazing. And it's just such a beautiful display. I absolutely love it when the alliums and the sage come out, because they normally come out at the same time. So one of my favourite things on the plot in spring, or is it summer technically? I don't even know. Anyway, now I want to show you my bathtub. Now, as if you can remember, like I filled it with loads of alliums. Now the alliums did okay. I was a little bit late planting them, like I always am. Some of them have done really well, and some of them, however, haven't done very well. And also, again, I think due to the weather, I just don't think they've thrived as much as usual. Some of the ones on the main part of my plot that are established and that have been in there for a couple of years seem to be doing okay. The newer ones, however, that I planted don't seem to be doing as well. So I'm going to bring you a little closer to show you. So now you're joining me on my roll top bath, and I'm showing you the allium bath. Now it's done really well, hasn't done as well as I hoped. I've had quite a lot of the alliums not actually grow, and some of them have flowered really well. Some of them have flowered earlier than the other ones, which has led to obviously some of them dying off before everything sort of came out. Now, like I said, the ones on the plot that seem to have been there for a couple of years are like really quite established. They have done amazing. So I'm hoping that maybe next year, because obviously alliums are perennial, that this will put on a much better display. And I think I'm going to add a few more alliums to it. Some of the taller ones at the back and some smaller ones at the front. So it should put off a really good display next year. I just wanted to bring you a little closer now. Some of these ones, I can't remember what the name is, I'll have to have a little look, but these are probably my favourite. They've got like a different shape. They're not the round, they've got just sort of like that bouffant like on top, and they're just really lovely, and the bees seem to absolutely love them. And then I've got these ones, I don't know how well you can see, but they're actually got a really, really blue colour to them rather than the purple, and they're really pretty. They're really dainty and light at the front. Obviously had some of these white alliums as well, and then a bit lower down there's some of the bigger like headed alliums, just like here. I don't actually know if this is Schubertii or Christophi or which one it is. They don't seem to have produced that as well as some of the ones over on the plot, but they are really, really pretty, and the bees absolutely love them. There's a big bee just on this one here. I'm really, really happy with it. But like I said, I would have liked, I would have liked a few more flowers to have come out. But that's how it works. That's what gardening's all about. You don't get everything that you want. Now we're moving down from the flower beds to the first sort of growing bed on the allotment. This bed is my perennial bed. So as you can see, I have some beautiful artichokes in here. The artichokes have absolutely taken over. I didn't realise how big these would get this year, because when they sort of like go dormant and die back before the autumn and winter, you just kind of forget how big they are. I'd say these have doubled in size from last year. So I've got obviously a beautiful purple artichoke here, and then behind I've got a green artichoke that has the biggest thorns or like spikes on it ever. It's so dangerous, I literally can't go near it. I will show you some close-ups of the artichokes, but I've obviously got those two big artichokes here. I actually planted my gooseberry plants in this sort of little spare row here, and the artichokes have gone so big that they're covering those up, so they definitely need to be moved. I have my cherry tree at the back, which is, hi! I've got my cherry tree at the back, which is full of cherries and netted because the pigeons absolutely love it. So this bed was one of the beds that I also didn't mulch or turn into a no-dig bed, even though technically it is because I don't really dig anything in here, but I didn't get a chance to mulch it and look after it because I ran out of compost because it is a big allotment. So I think in the autumn, what I'm going to do to concentrate on this bed, because I probably won't do much with it over the summer, is in the autumn I'm going to move the gooseberries to give them some more space, some more light, some more air, because these artichokes are huge and they're probably only going to get bigger. So I'm going to probably make a little gooseberry patch just here. Ow. They're really spiky, the leaves are so spiky. I do have asparagus that runs along here. Now this year I had like 5 spears of asparagus, and I think I said in some of the other videos that I really think the time is up with the asparagus. It just seems so unhappy. So I'm going to make a new asparagus bed for next season, even though obviously it will take a couple of years to harvest. I'm actually going to make a new asparagus bed just here over in my no-dig bed because I love it and it just doesn't seem very happy here. What I'm in this area is I'm going to really put a thick layer of cardboard down in the autumn, loads and loads of mulch, and just try to improve the soil over the autumn and winter so that it's much better for next year. But all I'll be keeping in here will be some gooseberries. I will add a couple more plants. I've got my 2 big artichokes, my cherry tree at the back, and then I don't know if you can see, but it's full of basically poppies. Sorry, I lost my words then. It's full of basically rogue poppies, and they grow really well in this area. The seeds have come from somewhere and it absolutely fills this area. So I'm quite happy because they seem to grow through anything, that I'm hoping the poppies come back again next year in this area. Quite happy to just leave it as like a perennial bed with some perennial fruits, artichokes, and then having those poppies come through because they're like opium poppies. They're absolutely beautiful. The bees love them, so I'm quite happy just to let them be in this bed and help the pollinators, because I have lots of room across the rest of my allotment to grow everything else, so I don't really need the space. I just thought I'd bring you a little bit closer to the artichokes. You can see these beautiful purple like globe artichokes, and they are full of loads of like ladybirds and stuff living in the leaves, so they're really nice. And then I'm going to show you the other variety at the back. Now, if I'm honest with you, I don't know how I have 2 varieties because I grew them from seed out of the same packet. But obviously you can see these artichokes are completely different. They are very spiky. They're green artichokes, but again, they are just full of like ladybirds, spiders, snails, everything that are just living in there, which is really quite cool to see. But they are incredibly sharp to touch. So I don't know if anybody else has got this variety, but if you could let me know what it is, I'd be very grateful. Now I've popped the camera just a little bit back up the allotment to where the top of the allotment is, right where I've shown. What I've done is I've popped the camera back up the allotment just slightly from where we've just been showing you around, just so then I can show you the bigger beds. So this obviously is a really big bed that goes quite far down. You should be able to hear me. And obviously I've just shown you this perennial bed where the artichokes are, and then come down. So when we get to about here, we're like halfway down my allotment, and to the left of me we have, looks a bit unhappy if I'm honest, to figure that out. absolutely nothing in my no-dig bed at the moment because I'm rubbish and I haven't kept on top of everything. But there are rogue sunflowers. I had lots of giant sunflowers growing a couple of years ago and they just seem to self-seed constantly year after year. So I just let them do whatever they want. So there's probably like 20 sunflowers growing in there. So that's really nice. And then obviously I have this big bed that goes from there all the way here. Now in this bed I have, again, lots of self-seeded sunflowers. I'm just going to leave them because they're absolutely beautiful and I love them. I have created some teepees ready for my French beans, my runner beans. I've got my perennial kale, which is not in the right place. I basically fill this whole bed up with pumpkins and squashes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that perennial kale out. I'm going to take some cuttings from it so I can grow some new plants. And if I'm successful growing some new plants, I'm going to add them possibly to the perennial bed. But I would like that to go, so I have that space for pumpkins and squashes. Because, like I was saying earlier, you know, in the flower bed, I haven't had time to dig out all that grass. I have lost some space today to put my dahlias. So I've added just a small section of dahlias in here. These are my new tubers for this year. Like I said, I'm so late planted them out. They're not even sprouting yet. Might get some flowers at the end of the year if we don't get an early frost. So I'm kind of praying that we have a really nice, like, prolonged summer into the autumn. So I might get to see those flower. I do have some straw flowers and some statice growing. I've always wanted to do some dry flowers, so I thought I'd give them a go. However, I was really late sowing them. I was even later planting them out. They're sort of going. Some of them have failed, some of them are doing all right. So we'll see if I get any dried flowers this year. If not, I'll try again next year. But yes, this area is obviously quite bare because I had a few problems with my pumpkin and squash seeds and not all of them have grown. When they are, they seem to be growing so slow because I planted them so late and we have had that horrible cold snap. Like I keep saying, I'm not making excuses, honestly. Like, it's just not been the right conditions. But probably in the next 2 weeks this will be full of pumpkin plants, squash plants. I'm going to hopefully plant out my runner beans today. My sweet peas are in. They're very, very small and spindly and not looking great, but might get some sweet peas, I don't know, next year. No, hopefully I'll get some late. That's all I keep thinking is, well, hopefully, even if it's late, I'll just get something that flowers. I'm quite happy. So yes, they're the big beds. I'm going to take you down just to show you my little teepees and where I'm growing my French beans and things, and then I'm going to show you the last sort of section of my allotment. I don't know if you can see, but obviously I have a couple of teepees that I've made just using some bamboo canes and then like some little discs that actually were in the allotment shed when I took the allotment on ages ago that have holes in that you can put the bamboo canes in just to make the teepees. So I've got 2 of those. They're going to have my French beans on. I have a little like makeshift basically just got some string on 2 like bent over bamboo canes that are like you buy them like this. And I've just planted my sweet peas. They seem to be doing okay, but obviously most people by now probably have sweet peas that are flowering. And then I've also got the contraption at the end, which is obviously for the runner beans, which is just the cane at the top and the other canes like this, just tied up nice and easy. Then I'm going to be planting my runner beans to go up those. I'll probably just put a little bit of twine in between just so that they can make their way up and just cover it and make it a little bit more full. But the reason I was just growing stuff across there is because I seem to be having a problem with, I don't know if it's like a fox or a deer, because I have seen them down here before trampling over my beds. I've never really had that problem before, but I'm having it now. So I just thought that just creates like a bit of a natural barrier just to stop them coming on. And I think I'm gonna like in the future, so next year, is all along this side is have structures just running along that side that I grow plants up just to sort of create that natural barrier. Probably won't stop them, but I'm giving it a go. Okay, now I'm going to take you into the last section of my allotment. It's still a big section. This is an enclosed section with like chicken wire, just to keep the rabbits and stuff off. So there's some part of my allotment that's protected. It's probably my favourite little part of the allotment. One, because my greenhouse is down here, which is my favourite thing ever. But, you know, there's a lot going on. There's an arch, there's my raised beds, and there's just lots of little areas. So I really quite like it. And I've been busy in this area over the winter, like making some extra areas. You probably all remember I built like my new raised bed and got all this area cleared, got rid of my compost bays and stuff. So the area is looking really nice. There are some jobs to do. I need to weed the paths. There's lots of bindweed growing and couch grass growing through the wood chips. So I'm going to give it a gentle weed, get them all pulled out, and then I'm going to give it a big thick layer of wood chip just to brighten this area up. I've got loads of like gladioli growing, and then obviously I've got my archway. I'm going to be growing pumpkins over this, and realistically I would like to get a couple more arches to go in the main part of the allotment to grow some pumpkins up. I just haven't had a chance to nip out. I've got broad beans, sunflowers, tomatoes, courgettes, onions, lettuce, garlic, gladioli. There'll be some sweet peas, there's some chives, some lettuce, some carrots that about 5 have germinated. I'm going to sow some peas in there today. Again, like I'm that late, I've not even put my peas in. I've got a beautiful fig tree, some amazing rhubarb. I've got loads of like gladioli again growing in the little flower beds in front of my greenhouse. I've got lemon thyme, alliums, pine berries. The pine berries are doing amazing. Lavender, and then potatoes in some buckets. Do you know what? I haven't even planted any more potatoes out. I put those potatoes into buckets and I haven't even planted any in the ground. Probably will plant some in the ground, especially if my pumpkins aren't doing that well this year. Yeah, I am quite behind, like I said, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing for me is using my allotment as a space that I come down to help myself. So my allotment for me is about improving my mental health and using this space, you know, every week to come down and keep myself feeling good. So it doesn't really matter in a way what's growing or when it's growing, because I'm not trying to grow for anything in particular. A couple of years ago I was growing stuff for like Chelsea flower show that needed to flower at a certain point, so that was quite stressful. And obviously I needed things to grow, so I was probably spending a bit more time looking after it. But obviously this year it's just a case of like I'm just growing and enjoying it and enjoying the space and enjoying changing areas on the allotment. Like obviously I spent all winter like getting things ready, and I'm really excited again. I don't want to wish the summer away, but I'm really excited for autumn again, so I can finish getting areas ready how I want them and how I envisioned you know what I mean, how I want them to be. So for me it's just going to be about having a nice summer down here, enjoying the plot coming down, having a little barbecue and being down here with my family and stuff and enjoying what's growing. But I'm probably already very excited about the autumn and winter and about getting those other bits finished and changing the way some of the allotment works. And I think like next year is going to be a really great year because of how I want it to go and what I want in it, and having that time to actually get it sorted. But anyway, for now it's doing okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a few things that are growing, a few things that are maybe not going as well, or a few common problems that people might be facing, things like garlic rust. So I'll show you a little bit more in here. The sun has actually gone in a little bit and it's just cooled things down, which is quite nice because I was getting quite hot doing this video. Now, this is my garlic bed. It's grown really well. I was quite late putting the garlic in, like I am with everything, as obviously I keep repeating myself, which is annoying, but it's grown really well. I'm probably going to leave it in a little bit longer than most of the people that are already harvesting theirs, just so it can plump up a little bit. So I just need to make sure I keep it watered and then feed it regularly, like once a week. I have cut the scapes off or taking the scapes off the top of the garlic, because obviously you want to put as much of the nutrients and water and stuff into growing the plant, and the energy into growing the plant, so you want to chop them off. But they're great in dishes, like in cooking and stuff. They're really nice, so you can still use them. So in the garlic bed I have added some rows of lettuce that's growing really well, because lettuce is quite happy in shade, so it doesn't matter that it's sort of shaded in between the garlic. So that's definitely something I'm doing next year. I'm going to have garlic rows and lettuce rows because it seemed to work really well. But oh, I was just eating that. Something I wanted to talk about is garlic rust. Now, garlic rust like stays in the soil. So obviously the first time I ever grew garlic on the allotment, in the allotment beds, I got garlic rust. And it seems to be that it happens a lot over the plots on my allotment site, and it tends to be that it can travel. So once it's here, it's here. And I obviously move it and do my garlic in a different place every year, and you know, like I've done the garlic in a different bed this time, but it does have the signs of rust starting, which I'm going to show you now. For anybody that doesn't know, this is the sign of garlic rust, and it literally looks like rust that you'd get on other things, and it's actually on the garlic. Let me just show you this a little bit closer, if I can get it to focus. It looks just like that. Now, the good thing about garlic rust is it's not a massive issue. I've had garlic rust every year. I've still had some amazing garlic harvests. Now, what I do is, normally when the rust starts, it's probably around the time that you should be lifting it. As I said, this garlic went in a little bit late, so I am going to leave it later this year. I'm just going to leave it to grow a little bit longer, and then I'll harvest it. And I'll do a little video when I've harvested it, just to show you what the rust looks like and what I do to prepare it before storing it. And basically, I'll just strip some of the leaves off it. It doesn't affect the taste, it doesn't harm you or anything like that. So it isn't a huge issue. The only thing is, for me, I know that I'm going to get rust basically every year that I grow my garlic on the allotment. The other thing I could maybe do is look at growing my garlic at home instead, to see, but realistically it doesn't actually make a huge difference compared to some of the different problems that garlic can get. So I will do a little follow-up video to show you me harvesting my garlic and then what I do to prepare it for storage. But yes, the garlic bed's garlic bread. I don't know if I just said garlic bread instead of garlic bed. Okay, the garlic bed is doing really well. The lettuce is growing well, and then obviously, I don't know if you can see, I've got like these wheels that I use for trellis. I'm going to pop some, I don't know if I'm going to pop some like French beans on them. I was going to pop cucumbers, but actually my cucumbers aren't doing that well, and I lost a few, so I've only got enough to fill my greenhouse at home. So maybe some French beans or some sweet peas or something like that are going to go there. But yes, very happy. It's going okay. Won't be my best garlic harvest because I planted it late, like everything else. This year, I promise you I won't. You'll see me here in October in the autumn planting it, I promise you. Now you're just joining me at these two raised beds with the archway. Like I said, I'm going to grow some pumpkins up there. I don't know which variety yet. I've got like mini munch, which are like little orange, or I've also got like little white ones as well. Turk's Turban's a really good grower, and like smaller pumpkin varieties. So I don't know yet, I haven't made a decision. But in these beds I've got some sunflowers, some tomatoes, lettuce, courgettes, broad beans, onions over there, pine berries, tomatoes, all sorts. I've just sort of crammed in as much as possible. I have actually still got some room in the beds, so I'll just add some more things, maybe just sow some peas and things like that. It's anything that grows quite quickly. But yeah, the beds are looking quite happy. I think they're going to need a top up this year, like a really good top up. I'm going to fill them up with some multi-purpose compost, some of my homemade compost, and like a layer of cardboard as well, just to help top it up. But yeah, they're growing really well. And then just a little update from my container potatoes. They sprouted really quickly, and then when the sprouts reached the top. I've topped them up with some compost. Just need to keep those watered and give them a little feed. But yeah, they're doing really well. I've never grown them in containers before, and I had some big containers that were not of any use, so I thought I'm just going to try doing them like that. I just wanted to save myself some space from growing the potatoes in the ground, so I had more space for pumpkins. But obviously this year my pumpkins aren't doing that well, so I probably would put some potatoes in the ground even though it's so late. But yeah, they're doing really well. I'm happy with those. Now the last place that I want to show you is my greenhouse. So this greenhouse is an 8 foot by 8 foot Vitavia greenhouse called Freya. It's really cool because it's got like the pent roof on it, and it's really tall, like here at the front, and at the back like you can still fully stand up. And I'm growing tomatoes basically in my greenhouse, and at the back you can still get full-size like bamboo canes that I can use to grow my tomatoes up. So it is a really, really great greenhouse. I've had it for, I don't know, 4 years, maybe more, and it's my pride and joy. This year I am only growing, well, not only, kind of only growing my tomatoes in my greenhouse. Now, I've spent a little bit of money buying some self-watering pots and setting up sort of like a self-watering system in here. I did get a couple of pots gifted to me, but the reason that I wanted this self-watering system in here is because at the allotment I do have some access to water, but so does everybody else, and it's like a self-filling water trough thing that you put your watering cans in. It very quickly, when it's hot, goes down because everyone comes to water their allotments in the evening. And because I have the rest of my allotment to do, and I at the moment only have one water, but I'd like to have more, and the fact that we've had no rain, like water is just a big issue. So I've got these self-watering systems, and I'm going to just show you what they are. But they're great because you put your tomatoes in with your compost, and I could probably leave this greenhouse for a week and I know that I haven't got to worry about watering it. Obviously the only other thing that I need to do is I need to feed my tomatoes regularly, so once a week I will come and feed them. I'll obviously top up the water in the self-watering systems, but I know that if there's any problem I can't get to the allotment, this is the only bit that I would normally worry about because it's in the greenhouse, it's very hot. I don't really have to worry about it. The rest of the allotment can sort of survive a week just about because it's heavily mulched. So I'm going to show you the self-watering pots. I do also have these bigger pots in here with my aubergines in. Now my aubergines are very, very slow this year, but I've decided to bring those aubergines down and put them in this greenhouse because the greenhouse at home I have all my chilies and cucumbers. Those are quite big pots. I will be putting some trays underneath them so I can fill the trays with a little bit of water. So if I do happen not to get down here for a couple of days and it's been hot, the aubergines would be watered too. But yeah, so I have my tomatoes going all the way around the greenhouse in these pots. So I'll show you them. They work on like a wicking system. And my tomatoes were planted probably like 2 and a bit weeks ago. Outside, they were not happy. Like, I'm going to be really real with you, like they were not happy at all. I didn't have a chance to pot them on, and then when I did pot them on, I potted them on too late realistically, and then they were I had to leave them for a bit and they were sat in too much water and they became waterlogged. I mean, I do know not to do all these things, but I did them anyway. And they were just very unhappy. When I planted them out, they looked half dead. Now they are thriving, they are quite big, they are very green again and putting on a lot of growth. There's a couple of them that aren't, but they seem to be in a slightly more shaded position in the greenhouse, so maybe that's just stopping them slightly. But they're going really well, so I'm going to show you. Now it's very warm in here, so I'm going to have to be quick. Now, I know this is not the best angle to show you, but this is one of the self-watering systems, and this is called, this is by a company called I don't know if I'm saying this right, lechuza. These are, you know, separate pots. You get 3 pots in this system, and all the water goes to the bottom, and basically it sits like on a wicking system, and it draws up the water, and the plants take as much water or as little water as they need and want. Now, it has these little indicators which show you how much water's in them, and that's at the maximum, so I just don't need to put any water in. And I don't know if you can see these tomato plants very well, because obviously there's lots of green in the background, but this tomato plant was probably half the size a couple of weeks ago when I planted it out. It was really unhappy. Now it's green and it's flourishing, it's looking great, and they do soon catch up. That's what I love about tomato plants. You can literally have them on death's door and then get them going again. So for anybody that's interested, this is planted in peat-free compost. This is the fruit and veg compost from Rocket Grow. Now, I do work closely with Rocket Grow, and I use all of their compost in everything that I do. It's a really good peat-free brand. The fruit and veg compost is great for like planting out established fruit and veg plants. So like obviously when your tomatoes are ready to be planted into their final positions, this is perfect. It helps feed for 3 months, and it's just a great compost. I've used this now for 2 seasons for my tomatoes, so this is the 3rd season I think I'm using it, and I've had fantastic tomatoes, so really excited about that. I do have some other watering systems, 2 different types. I have one from Auto Pot Global, which is a self-watering one with like a water butt thing, I'll show you, and then I also have the other ones from Greenhouse Sensation, which I really love, and they're like a wicking system with like a bit of you know, like capillary matting that like goes into the bottom. So I'm going to show you those, but it's very difficult in here because it's quite tight because I have so much stuff. Do you know what, actually I might be best doing it like this, so I'm sorry if it's not very steady, but this is my other watering system. As you can see, like this is the water butt just here at the back, and it comes into these 4 pots, and that's the Auto Pot one. I have to say the growth on these tomatoes is incredible. Like I said, like these plants, I don't know if you can see, were sort of down here, they were purple and unhappy, and now like they've put on a lot of growth, they're much bushier. I do need to just take out these side shoots, but they are looking much healthier. So let me just straighten that out a bit. That's a really good system. I've then got another one of those lechuza pots there, just like a single pot, which is really good. Ooh, it's a bit close. Like I said, I've got my aubergines in the middle. I'm going to put them on a tray, but just for some water underneath, but they're not very happy. And then I've got the rest of my greenhouse is these Greenhouse Sensation pots that go across there, and across to that side. So I've got three of the stations, and they come like in like this double pack, so you've got 2 there and 2 there, and then if you see that like the pots are on the top, and then at the bottom these are like the water that holds all the water, and then you've got the bit of capillary matting that goes from in the middle of the pot through the hole in the bottom to the water, and then that will just draw up as much or as little water as you need. So I'm going to show you those in a little bit more detail. Okay, sorry about the filming, it's not great, but these are the bases, and in here you can take that off. This is where it's all filled with water and bugs. And like obviously I've got my tomato plant here, so I'm just going to take that off, and if you can see there's like that capillary matting, and that capillary matting goes all the way into the water, and then what will happen is that will just draw up as much water as like the soil needs. Sorry if that was really loud. It's a great system, and the plants really thrive, and like I say, you just don't have to worry. The fruit and veg compost is great. It does go completely dry on the top like a mulch, but you only have to go down a couple of centimetres, and you can see that let me show you, that the compost is like lovely and damp, so it just keeps those tomatoes watered for a good amount of time. So all I would do with this system is top up these to keep them watered, and then I will feed the plants once a week. I normally do my feeding on a Friday because it's Feed Friday. It's just really easy to remember, and I'll just give them a slight water on the top to make them damp, and then I'll give them a feed. But yeah, so this is the system. I know obviously it's plastic, and I know that's something that I try to stay away from realistically, but it's very thick, rigid plastic. This system will last me for years. I think I've had one of these already for 4 or 5 years, and it's in tip-top condition. I just make sure that once I've finished the season, I take these home, I give them a really good wash, and then put them into storage, and it keeps them looking really, really good. And I'm pretty sure I can get a good 30 years out of these or more. That is the end of my plot tour for June 2023. It's obviously the start of June, but that is me finished for my plot tour of my little allotment in June. It's the start of June, and I can't wait to just sort of show you how things evolve in the next sort of 4 weeks. I will be bringing you maybe a couple of videos in between of things that I'm doing, whether I'm planting things, sowing seeds or whatever. I'll bring you a couple of videos in between, and then I will see you for my next full plot tour in July. I don't know how we're in June already. This year is going so fast. I hope you're all enjoying your allotment plots and your gardens, and you're growing lots of things that make you happy. If you've enjoyed my video, please like or subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave me them, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have or answer any comments. I really appreciate all of you supporting me and following along, and I will see you soon.